Hello YouTube, this is DVD Review Studios here, and today I'm going to be doing a random discussion video on a topic that I have wanted to address on the channel for a little while, and that is the notion of creating customized DVDs for personal usage. And this really falls in line with obviously the rise of streaming versus the idea of physical media as a whole. And just to throw this out there to, I guess, provide some kind of exposition, with shows that begin on streaming services or have a huge following on a streaming service, such as Mr. Robot, which is viewable on Amazon Prime, and the show Daredevil, which began on Netflix, as another example there. It eventually obviously made it to Blu-ray releases, which these are genuine Blu-rays that you can pick up from retailers, and obviously with the idea of them being released onto physical media as well, that is an alternative option for distribution. However, there are some releases of some properties, television shows, and movies, such as the three that I'm showing here in front of you, that sadly don't get the opportunity to be released onto physical media for whatever reason. And there can be multiple factors involved with things like this, such as whether or not a movie doesn't perform as well, or is granted as, such as in the case of The Mandalorian, an exclusive to the streaming service of Disney Plus to drive people to that subscription, which is obviously a money-making tactic for the right reasons, and $7.99 or however much per month per person, per user, definitely does add up in the long run. However, with a missed market demographic for physical media goers like myself, it definitely is very irritating in some instances where something such as El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie, which was supposed to have a premiere on Netflix and then be released onto both Blu-ray and DVD eventually afterwards, that just never happened, which is incredibly disappointing because an advantage with Blu-rays and DVDs over streaming websites is the bonus content that you can receive. And so me, myself, I was actually looking forward to having this on DVD or Blu-ray to go with my Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad collection, but it was also interesting to see the thought process behind this particular film and to see what went into the development of this to continue from the very well-known ending to Breaking Bad. With that just never coming to fruition, it's obviously an incredible disappointment, and that's where we're at with this, where I made my own customized version of the DVD set for El Camino to go with my Breaking Bad DVDs. And this was just the process of downloading the movie onto a blank DVD-R disc, printing out some artwork online, and just putting it all together and assembling it in a blank DVD case, which was obviously pretty straightforward. And that's just my case in point where even though something like this is definitely considered mainstream, and things like The Mandalorian and even Invader Zim can be considered something of the sort as well, there's obviously a huge gap in the market where not everything is released onto DVD, surprisingly, and that's definitely a missed opportunity and a marketing demographic I'm kind of surprised that streaming services have not really cashed into. Even with something like Daredevil, I believe the third season never got released onto DVD, or maybe just not Blu-ray, which is incredibly strange to me, and that's just something where such a popular show has another chance to make even more money, where a customer would spend £20 on something because they want to have it physically rather than the $7.99 per month, which is obviously a lot less compared to however many copies you could make of a certain DVD or Blu-ray. And that even leads me to the idea of there could even be limited edition runs of something like this, maybe 10,000 released worldwide, limited to 10,000, and obviously that would then garner a new market or a new demographic of collectors. And again, that's kind of case in point, something that I think would be interesting to strive towards as far as the money-making aspect is concerned for something like this. Anyhow, the remainder of this video is not necessarily a tutorial, but more so a showcase on how I made my own custom DVDs for my own personal collection. And even though there are certain moral implications, I guess you could perhaps suggest, in conduct with such actions, I will be extremely subtle in what I am referring to there, but I'm not really a supporter at all in buying into piracy. I don't buy bootlegs for obvious reason. I've shown bootlegs on the channel, interestingly enough, before, just for really morbid kind of curiosity and comparative purposes, but it leaves an open market, like I've already suggested, where the studio refuses to fill such an obvious choice in media distribution. And in other ways, the idea of actually making something custom, such as with this fantastic Mandalorian DVD set artwork I downloaded online, it can also be considered transformative. Websites such as Cover City gain a popularity from fans either looking to upgrade pre-existing artwork on physical media to alternative covers, or simply just to provide artwork for unreleased shows such as this, which is obviously what I have done. And so for a vague guide to the steps involved to create something such as this, step one, of course, you will need the media that you are looking to download or burn to a DVD disc, of which it's entirely your prerogative as to how you go about obtaining said media. Next, of course, you will need a DVD-R disc, which I recently purchased a few of these dual-layered ones over eBay. The dual-layered ones sadly do have one flaw, and that is that they are not rewritable. What I do quite like about DVD Plus Rs is that you can actually remove or re-add data onto them, so you can actually change the stuff on the DVD, which can be quite useful. However, sadly with the dual layered ones, which are a larger file size supporting formats, these just don't have the option to rewrite them, which is a shame. But for something such as The Mandalorian, it was definitely worthwhile grabbing one of those dual layered ones with the extra file capacity, just so that I can get the whole show onto one disc, which was definitely a nice touch. And so with that there, all you literally need to do is burn your media onto the disc. And the next step is creating the artwork, which is something that I did for my Invader Zim Enter the Florpus movie. And this was something that I really wish had a proper DVD release, as it would be interesting to get some behind the scenes or commentary related notes for this particular film. But to go alongside the DVD sets for season 1 and 2, I tried to make it as close as possible really to the original kind of format look that these DVDs had. So I took the movie poster for the front cover, that was an obvious one, and then for the back cover, to kind of make it similar, I mimicked this little weird background that they had there for the list of the episodes, just to copy and paste over a description for the movie from IMDb. And I actually did that in Adobe Illustrator to get it as similar as I possibly could. And then the rest of it I did in Photoshop, which I've got a couple of clips of me editing through the back cover there, as you can see on screen now. Once your artwork is complete, of course, then you'd be looking to print it out to add to your customized DVD sets, of which this is something that I genuinely did struggle with for quite a while. And this is just an example really of just how piss poor my original attempts were at creating the Invader Zim cover. So I nicked the movie poster, of course, for the front cover, that's fine. The spine I thought was okay, but sadly it is just very blurry as far as the quality is concerned, so comparing that to what I have now for my final version, that's definitely a huge significant difference there with the newer version, and this is the back cover I chose, which, oh boy, that is just embarrassing to say the least. So it really depends on what programs you have, in all fairness. So I used a template, which I'll put a link to in the description, where you can download a zip file containing all the necessary requirements. I used a template in Photoshop, and I layered everything so that it was exact to the specifications on the template. I then removed it and then printed it out as a PDF file, which seemed to be the best quality version I could achieve without basically counteracting what my normal printer settings are for JPEGs or PNG files. And then printing it off, it actually turned out okay, and so that's what we have here for the final version of my Invader Zim Enter the Florpus artwork, which after cutting it out, it looks pretty good compared to the original. So I'm very happy with how this one turned out for one that I personally customized compared to these other two which I downloaded elsewhere, and that's where websites such as the website I mentioned before, which is Cover City, something like that is definitely much better in comparison to something like this, which I made a very long time ago as a joke, really, and that is the terrible movie Jaws in Japan, a shitty CGI shark flick. I wanted to have this in the collection really as a joke, and as you can see, printing this off definitely did not go to plan, and I've just left it as is, really for the sake of it. I don't really intend on upgrading this or really doing anything with it anytime soon. I may even just get rid of it. But yeah, these were just obviously examples, and then once you have completed the artwork, assembling the final product is the last thing that you need to do, and then boom, you've got your own customized DVD set for your own watching pleasures in your own collection. And on that note, thank you for listening to my thoughts and opinions on creating customized physical media. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave me a like down below. Let me know in the comments, is this something that you have considered doing before? Or is this concept something that you are basically entirely against? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions as well. And for more videos, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Are you threatening me?